you don't like the dual point of view? Well, you should.
You should. And so, yeah, they're so cryptic. They talk in riddles. We're like, dude, we're already confused. What's going on?
So I don't forgive him. That's the Aquarius in me, I think.
Also crazy. But I will believe you.
Other brothers from other mothers.
Welcome to the Besties in the Books podcast, guys. I'm Liz.
And I'm Ashley. And we're back! With more Shield of Sparrows series coverage. This is going to be the deep dive for book 2. So we are talking Rites of Starling by Devney Perry. Are you guys done reading it? I hope so. If you're not yet and you want to hang out for the first 15 minutes, spoiler free, we get you. You can save it to your playlist and watch it later. But spoilers are going to be commencing after that. We'll give you a full warning, but we are going to be deep diving. It is going to be such a good time. Listen, the obsession, it's running deep. It's running hard. And we know your guys' is too. And we need to talk this out together as a team.
We do. As a team.
In case you want some more, though, we do have a recap that we put out a few days ago. If you want a refresher before diving into the Rites of Starling with us, we did a full deep dive Shield of Sparrows, including characters. Liz built us some lore. We go over countries. It's a little bit more like recappy, but then we still do our faves, fails, and tropes and all of that. And then we have a YouTube live because this was a book club pick in 2025. Shortly after it was released, so you can go check out that as well. Get all the Shield of Sparrow things before diving into this full-length deep dive. We are so excited to talk about everything. Holy moly! Woo!
Literally. I know. I just put here, we need something to sustain us for the next almost year while we patiently wait for book 3 on March 9th of 2027. Yeah.
Don't you worry. Fridays are coming. We're gonna have a lot to sustain us, so that's good. That is good.
Yes. But yeah, so, and then also we've got conversations for Rites of the Starling and Shield of Sparrows on Fable over at Besties in the Book Club. So check that out. Ashley and I haven't even talked about this book yet, so we're so excited to dive into all of the craziness because this book took turns that literally I don't think anyone could have predicted.
Yeah.
So exciting. So the first 15 minutes or so of this episode will be spoiler free as per usual. We're going to get into our faves and fails, current reads, non-podcast related, behind the scenes, just to spice it up a little bit for you guys. Before we get into all the spoilers and our usual deep dive stuff. But before we get into that, we just wanted to say thank you so much for being here.
Seriously, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and your book to come and join us weirdos over here at Besties in the Books podcast and find out what we have to say about Rites of the Starling. Go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe anywhere you like to listen to favorite podcasts, including YouTube. If you haven't yet, come join the Crow fam. The water's fine, and we'll have a good time. We are also Besties in the Books podcast on TikTok and Instagram. And like Liz mentioned, if you would like a non-committal virtual book club where you guys do the choosing, we do the talking, and you guys also tell us the reviews, and we share your reviews too. We talk it all out together. Go check us out on the Fable app. It is free to download, and we are Besties in the Book Club there.
Yes.
So there you go.
And if you guys are wondering, because I feel like Rites of the Starling, at least what we've seen so far, the reviews have been kind of a little bit like hit or miss, polarizing a little. So, you know, if you read Shield of Sparrows and you're unsure if you want to read Rites of the Starling, then we do include our spoiler-free star and spice rating right on the top as well before we get into spoilers. So you can stick around to see if we would recommend reading it or not.
Yes.
Okay. So Ash, should we tell these people what we read in our spare time?
Oh yeah, what do we read when it's not for the podcast? What do we choose? Would you like to start us off, Liz?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: if it's not for the podcast, and it's not for, obviously with the podcast we have our bonus series, we have our regular deep dives, we have popular book releases, and we have interviews. So that's a pretty full schedule at that point. And then we also have book club too. So I had to actually go look in my Goodreads because if occasionally I sneak in a different book, I often forget what it was or when I read it or what happened. So we use Goodreads as a chronicle of the past.
Yes,
what happened in my life.
It comes in handy.
Yeah. It does come in handy. Non-podcast related, I would say my faves of late, of the last month or so, a few weeks. I read Christina Applegate's memoir. I listened to it on Audible. She does narrate it. It's called You with the Sad Eyes, and I gave it 5 stars.
Oh, Yeah.
It was amazing.
Oh.
I have been obsessed with Christina Applegate since I was probably 10 years old.
Yeah.
You know, she's played some of my favorite characters like throughout the years. I mean, it all started with, you know, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That evolved into Anchorman, which then evolved into The Sweetest Thing. So yeah, she's definitely been there for me through all the different chronicles of my life. And so it was really interesting to listen to her memoir because she has been so private personally, like for her whole life. She didn't even have social media until she started promoting this book.
Wow.
So it was very real. And, you know, for anyone who doesn't know, she was diagnosed with MS. And that is definitely, like, it informs her storytelling style because she basically is like, I used to care what people think, but now that, you know, I'm dealing with something much that has altered my entire life, I no longer give a crap. So I'm going to tell my life as it actually happened. And I don't care what people have to say about it. So it's very genuine and real.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5 stars easily.
Nice. Oh.
On the flip side of that, completely to take a hard right or a hard left, I have been trying to get through the audio, which I will say is literally, the audiobook narrators are amazing, okay? We're dealing with, like, the freaking top cast, like, Shane East, Teddy Hamilton, like, we could not have better narrators, but for some reason I have been struggling to get through book 2 in the Edge of Darkness trilogy by Lee Rivers called Insatiable. It's a dark romance, kind of mafia adjacent, and for some reason it just like wasn't clicking. Like I liked it, but it was taking me forever to listen to it because I listened to like, you know, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there for literally like the last like 6 months. Like it was just well, I got to that last 25%. And literally it was like the light bulb went off in my head and I became obsessed, and now I'm almost done with book 2. And I've been doing it all on audio, but yeah, so everyone says that this is a dark romance trilogy that will like literally emotionally wreck you, and so I am afraid but also excited for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up rating book 1 4 stars based on literally that last 25%. And like I said, I'm almost done with book 2. And at this point I would give it a 5 star unless it took like some crazy turn.
Ooh.
So I'm very excited to listen to book 3 as well, but also afraid. So there's that.
Yeah.
So those have been my faves of late. My fail, which I am very sad about, and then I briefly mentioned on my Bookstagram account and also texted to Ashley because I was having a complete crash out over this. If you guys know me, you know that I love H.G. Carlton. Like, I love her. I've read everything she's written. Even if I didn't love that particular book, like, there was something about it that still, like, changed my brain chemistry, you know? It's like, she's just one of those authors. And so, I mean, how excited was I when her new book came out that I'm like literally blanking on the title of. It just came out and like hit my Kindle a couple weeks ago. It's called My Dreadful Darling, and it's part 1 in the Hollow Graves duet. Part 2 comes out, I want to say like early next year. Or maybe not. Maybe it even comes out sooner. I don't remember. But I made it a couple chapters in. The audiobook isn't out yet, so I was reading it on my Kindle, and it is like a dark romance, but the 2 main characters are very young and in college, and like the main male character is like maybe 20, but maybe even 19.
Ugh.
And he's a
Mayday.
he's a real human boy, right? It's like he's not like a fae, he's not a vampire, he's not a werewolf. Like he's literally
a real human boy.
Yeah, like he's a real human boy. And I'm like, listen, there's nothing about a 19-year-old quote unquote man being mean to me, because it's also bully, that like is even remotely interesting to me. Like it's gross. It just, everything gives me the icks. I'm like, ick. Like I can't even read it. So, I don't want to, okay, I'm not calling it like a full DNF. Right now it's a soft DNF because when the audio comes out.
Let it happen. Like, just, it's okay. Just DNF.
It's not okay because what if, see, I have all these like things in my head I'm making up, right? Where I'm just like, what if they're young now, but then they get older later?
Maybe. Yeah.
Because that's actually how Insatiable was. And I think that was one of the reasons why I was
Okay.
having a hard time connecting with it. Now it's amazing because they are
Yeah.
older. It was like told in flashbacks kind of.
Oh.
And so
Okay,
that might
okay.
also just be being in denial also, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Because some people like the bully trope, you know? So.
Also,
hey.
I'm like, okay, you're 19 years old. Like, what do you have to bully me about?
Yeah.
Like, I'm almost 40. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, gross. But so I'm keeping an open mind. I think what I might do is soft DNF it at this time. And then when the audiobook comes out, if it has good narrators, then I might download it and try doing the audio and see if that clicks better for me. But at this time, it is a soft DNF. And I am sad because I have never done that to H.G. Carlton before.
Ooh. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. So what do you have? What have you been reading
Well,
off the books lately?
Liz came to the rescue because I was kind of spiraling because I'm like, okay, we have all these things that we need to read from the podcast, like heavy hitters too, but I needed an audiobook because I had just finished When the Moon Hatched reread on audio, and I was physically reading this book, Rites of Starling. So I'm like, I need an audio for the downtime when I'm doing laundry and stuff.
Yeah.
And we went through the list and everything. I didn't want to do audio for the other stuff we're going to be reading. And she's like, oh, dude, read the follow-up to Anathema because book 3 is coming out this fall. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. I'm waiting for the perfect time to read that. What was that one even called?
Eldritch.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. No spoilers, but guys, it picks up right where we left off. Okay. So that's what's happening. And the voice, the narration. Oh my gosh. Creme de la creme. That was something that I didn't listen to the audio, I think either till later or to find out or at the end for some reason. And I was like, what have I been missing out on?
Yeah, Zavander
It
is
is
like top tier.
Ooh, it is. And it is just as good as I remember. So I'm just right back in it.
Now I'm curious, who even is that narrator? I have it downloaded also because I'm hoping to get to it someday. James Cassidy and Melissa Barr. I don't recognize James Cassidy's name, but dude.
Yeah. She's great.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a long one. So I did put a
Mm-hmm.
pause on it to focus on Rites and Starling because more lore was starting to come up with it because you do have a lot of creatures in that too. And I was going to start getting confused. So I did pause it again.
Oh, yeah.
So now that I'm done, I can go back to listening to that because I'm about probably 20% in. Okay. So, but if you're looking for a good dark fairy tale, like romantasy style though, like, so you get both of those things, definitely check out Anathema if you haven't yet. It is so good. And it is part of the Eating Woods series by Carrie Lake. And the third one's coming out this fall. So you got time. And yeah, audiobook is great.
Awesome.
So yeah.
I love that.
And then I'm going to be starting from CJ Lead Headlights also this week. So that
I
is
cannot
gonna be
wait to
scary.
get your commentary. Yeah.
I'm terrified. Liz is making me do it.
Yeah.
So I'll do one horror book a year.
Yeah.
And so
I like that's fair.
CJ Lead is the one that will stick with you. So
Do you have any books that you've read lately or that you tried to read and just like were not good?
Yeah, I couldn't think of any because we have had a lot of high fantasy this year. So I haven't had a lot of time to fit in anything else. So that's just my only fail is that there's just not enough time for all the books. I think that is relatable, right, guys?
To all of us, all the time, forever.
Us. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's time for our still spoiler-free star rating and review. And of course, Liz will bring us our spice rating because she's our honorary spice girl. So I'll start 5-star reviews. Holy smokes, can't stop thinking about it. Absolutely love it. Wow. Here's the deal. People are 50-50 right now, so it seems, in the review sphere of Rites of the Starling. You know, they're either loving it or they're hating it because it is dual POV and some people don't like it. Can it be me? Can it be us? I speak for both of us here.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And if you're reading it right now and you're struggling, stick with it. Don't give up. I know we say that a lot, but we mean it, truly. Like, it is all for a good reason. And I think once you get there, you're going to be like, I can't believe I ever doubted Miss Devney Perry. You know? So, hey.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's it good for? People who read Shield of Sparrows, for one, and want to find out what happens next. And then, of course, anybody that likes fantasy, romantasy, same things that we all said in last Friday's video, Shield of Sparrows. So,
wait, you said you gave it 5 stars, right?
Yes, 5 solid stars. I cannot freaking wait till the next one. I see what everybody was freaking out in the book club over, because now we have to wait another year, just like we always do. And, but that's
just long
okay.
enough for all of us to forget everything that happened again.
Yeah. Well, now we have all these recap episodes, so
Yeah.
I'm happy that we've done these. I'm so happy that we've done these.
Same.
So they've helped put my brain back together when these authors make them crumble and fall apart, you know?
Yeah. No, I do know. It's like, I actually, yeah, the way that we structure these now, I'm like, hey, if we find them useful, I'm sure you guys find them useful. It's like, because I'll literally go back and be able to recap these, like rewatch, you know, before next March when book 3 comes out. 'Cause that's a while.
Yeah.
And there will be a lot of books read in between now and then as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, I rated it 5 stars as well. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, this book was so good. You guys know that I'm already, like, a sucker for, like, a multi-POV, but this was a multi-POV on a different level, since we're keeping this spoiler-free, on, like, a way that we have full circle moments that just make me so happy. So, for that reason, and I also like a certain amount of... I feel like there was so much, like, mystery going on in this one, where it was, like, a lot of, like, you know, all of our characters trying to, like, solve the world's problems, but as a reader, it's, like, we also don't know what's going on, so it's, like, no one knows what's going on, so it's, like, I feel like that can be frustrating for some people, but I love that, because it's, like, just a next level of, I don't know, like, twists and turns around every corner. We're not sure at all where she's going to take us. So I really appreciated it for that reason too. Lots of surprises, but like in a good way.
It's a trust the process kind of book for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. You can't, like, every single time I was like, wait, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Am I overthinking it? Am I, like, thinking too deep about this? Or, like, am I on to something? I don't know, you know? And so I love that process of watching the pieces just, like, slowly come together. Yeah, it's definitely like a lots of Easter eggs, lots of lore that's important kind of book. So yeah, 5 stars for me. Can't wait to read the next one. And then surprisingly enough, I gave this a 2 spice as well. I felt like there wasn't very much spice in here. And the spice that we did have, like, we even had some like fade to black scenes. We had some closed door scenes. I was a little bit surprised by that because I thought this one would get a little spicier. But I didn't feel like it did. So, you know, but that didn't make me like it any less. I felt like it was still so well done.
And it made sense, you know. Other than, I was surprised some more fade to black. But, again, it makes sense. But I was expecting a little more spice as well.
Yeah. But I think this one was like, it was about... that's not what this was about. Without spoiling anything, this was not what this book was about. It was about some other... more important things right now, I think. We were distracted by the zillion other puzzle pieces we were trying to put together. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Well, that being said, should we get into our spoiler section for Rites of the Starling and just get into it?
Buckle up, you guys. Are you ready? How did you do it this time? Is it clear and concise? No way.
No way.
Okay, well... hang on. Here is your official warning, guys. Spoilers coming in hot for Rites of the Starling. You don't want to be spoiled. I'm telling you. Go get to reading if you haven't finished it yet. Just trust us. Just trust it. Or you're like us and you'll forget it anyways. But I don't think you'll forget these spoilers. They might stick with you. So be careful.
Okay. So... for this book, I only did 2 sets of 5-sentence summaries because we only had 2. I mean, we had like 1 chapter with Ransom's point of view, but like that's not enough to matter.
Yeah. and the dad, but nonetheless, it's still. Yeah.
Yeah, it was minimal. It was to the point where I was
Yeah.
able to work their very minimal point of views into these 5-sentence summaries. So basically, I have one from Odessa, and then I have one from Caspia. So this was my question, however, to you. Which set of 5 would make sense to read first?
Caspia.
Okay.
Sure. Let's not overthink
Well,
it.
here we go. Well, as I was writing it, I was like, I don't know which one I should read first because I don't know which one I would want to know first.
There's going to be people on both sides saying one or the other for different reasons.
Here we
And there's
go.
pros and cons to each side. So let's just make a decision and let's go.
Here we go. Okay. So we've got 5-sentence summary of Caspia's point of view.
Okay.
Princess Caspia lives in a castle in the city of Shao, in the country of Nelphenex on the distant continent of Ken, where she and her cousin Xandra both wait to go through their rites, where they will advance from being a quiescent warrior to a Starling, a royal woman who can shapeshift into any creature, often choosing their beloved companions, gigantic, gentle, and powerful birds called swifts. But she finds herself having visions of the past, one in particular of her sister, who traveled away from Ken years ago and never returned, being murdered by a man with silver eyes. She hires a ship and travels with her cousin Xandra, the stowaway, to where the thrum in her heart directs her, to Calandra.
Hey, already, wow, you just put so much information in that one sentence. So, good job. Good job on that. Yeah.
They find themselves feeling increasingly strange and unwell, especially when they take refuge in a gigantic cave. And shortly after, they're surrounded by werewolves, and Xandra completes her ritus, changing into one, but doesn't know herself or Caspia and cannot change back. So Caspia jumps off of a waterfall to save herself and washes up next to the cabin of a kind man named Andreas, who nurses her back to health and who she quickly falls in love with. However, she decides to leave him to continue her mission and is attacked by a fennec almost immediately because in her country, Starling have deep, meaningful connections with creatures. So Andreas saves her. They save an orphan boy named Kos on their travels, and they decide to ultimately go to Quentis, Andreas's home, together, her leaving her revenge behind in order to start a new life and destiny where her visions of death and destruction will hopefully not come true.
Two.
They reach Quentis, and she and Andreas are forced to reconcile his perception of the migration and the Crux with her reality of Starling and Swifts, while she secretly fights the feelings of her own ritus approaching. But they ultimately believe each other and decide to try to research the magic in Calandra to figure out why the Starling and creatures in general are responding this way to it. She writes her own book to add to the collection in the library, adding history about Ken and Nelphenex, since none can be found at all, and none of the history of Calandra can be found prior to the first migration. Asking the librarian who adopted Kos to hide it in the library. Then mysteriously, a Voster she doesn't recognize comes and gives her another book. She reads it 3 times and is still not sure what it means until he returns to help explain the history of the 6 magicians.
3.
Because of this, she decides the best course of action is to find the orbits and destroy them. So we're going to have to talk about the magicians, just a little side note, in the lore section, because that would make the summary, like, insanely long. Okay, So because of this, she decides the best course of action is to find the orbits and destroy them, starting with the most dangerous and remote place possible, the Evan Ravine. At this point, Andreas has called off his betrothal and married Caspia, and she is aware that he is actually the crown prince. So he uses his riches to hire a huge company to take them there, where they have several casualties, but ultimately find the first orbit, which they lock away in an iron box and concede to pause their searching in order to look for more people to help because Caspia is pregnant.
4.
Caspia realizes her visions have been of the future this whole time, so she leaves her elf altar necklace and journal for her daughter Odessa tucked away in a secret compartment in her room and entrusts her lady's maid, Margot, with keeping her baby safe and her husband from completely descending into despair, when one day 4 Voster priests come to the castle, presumably to kill her and Odessa for their magic and ability to expose them for what they truly are, so Andreas kills her after she completes the ritus, transforms, and kills the Voster.
5. All right. Caspia.
Okay.
That was great. Good job.
Thank you.
Odessa's time to shine. Let's go.
Okay, Odessa's point of view. Ransom arrives in Trow to meet with Odessa and Evie after the devastating Crux attack they fled from, but finds they aren't there, having taken the journey with Brother Dime and later passing them off to Brother Score, who leads them the long way to Quentis, refusing to sail directly, stopping to meet Damon, the man with a lionwick claw around his neck, the woman in the woods who cures herself of a snake bite, the great warrior Thora, Cathleen's niece and one of the Mavens, a group of mercenaries working for a man named Salem, a traveling merchant named Wells, and Stryker, the one-eyed man with 3 scars, finding that many scenes and scenarios would play out with these people exactly and mysteriously like the stories in Luella's journal told them. At the beginning of the journey, Brother Score saves them from a bear-wolf ambush by evaporating all of their blood from their bodies, killing them, then later takes Odessa into a secret maze of caves to find a pool of water, but she passes out when she touches it from the intensity of the magic, and when she wakes up, he leaves them without a clear explanation of what happened.
Was that one?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
It was. Thora and the Mavens agree to escort Odessa the rest of the way back to Quentis for a significant amount of gold that may help free them from their corrupt boss. And on the way, Odessa fills them in on her identity and tells them all about Lysa before they are ambushed by a rabid pack of bear-wolves. One of the Mavens and Odessa's horse, Freya, are killed, and when all seems lost, Ransom finds them and slays the monsters, and immediately afterwards they sail for Quentis, and Odessa and Ransom fill each other in on their missed time together. But Ransom omits what he saw when he killed the Crux scout.
2.
They meet with King Cross, and he is not only disappointed in Odessa's inability to complete her missions, but still refuses to divulge any information that he has regarding Lysa, which he knows about, and the migration. So Odessa starts looking more into a cure herself, explaining the entire situation to the castle's head healer, Allure, and taking her a vial of Ransom's blood to test because he seems to only be getting worse and losing more control over himself. May also seems unusually angry and resentful, and Margot seems to be more open with Odessa, telling her about her past and even trusting her with the knowledge of her affair with the new captain of the Kingsguard, Hawksley, when Odessa accidentally catches them secretly meeting.
3.
We find out that there is a secret faction of Voster, quote-unquote, zealots, called Kennen, that are traitors to the Brotherhood, the High Priest, and therefore the Royals, so Ransom insists they leave Quentis right away before getting caught up in it. But because Xavier, who really is alive, Kathleen, Jonas, Samuel, and Gisela only just arrived from Tura, they haven't had any time to travel just yet, and in the meantime, Odessa and May are attacked by a group of drunk castle guards wanting to steal Fave, and in his rage, Ransom kills them and is then imprisoned by her father until he can be exiled after the migration. Margot comes to give them a book to read together, and Odessa realizes it's her mother's journal.
4.
I know. Odessa confronts her father about the journal, and he confesses the truth. Her mother, Caspia, was from the country of Nelphinex on the continent of Ken. She traveled to Calandra originally for her Rites, to avenge her sister's death, which she saw in a vision, and to possibly find out what happened to her mother who disappeared. But they met and fell in love, changing everything. At the time, he was a prince, but not long after getting married, his parents passed and he became king. Then they brought Odessa into the world, but because the magic of Calandra corrupts sparrows from Nelphinex, when she did eventually go through her Rites, transforming into a swift, or a crux, depending on what continent you're on, Andreas killed her to save them and hid Odessa away so that the Voster wouldn't murder her for her challenge to their magic and power. Now all they have to do is find the remaining orbits to rid the continent of this cursed magic, but the High Priest, most of the Voster, and King Ramsay are protecting it.
5. Dun, dun, dun.
Crazy times.
Crazy
my
times.
gosh.
Crazy, man. So crazy.
The first thing that I texted Ashley last night was if you guys watched our Shield of Sparrows episode, I was like, hey, I specifically fan casted Jessica Chastain as her mother, not knowing who her mother was going to be. And so when we read this and we found out Caspia was her mother, I was like, oh my God, that would be so freaking cool.
And I already knew
So
when
cool.
you said that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. Yeah.
It's perfect. It's
so
perfect.
good. excellent job, Liz. That was amazing. So great putting our brain back together. Maybe a recap for the future us, future whoever's watching this. I hope that was helpful. It was helpful for me. I know it. I'm speaking for my future self too. We have done a loosey-goosey characters, new characters to take note of as well. So that was super informative. That went over a lot of characters. I'm not going to include everybody, but just a couple things to like note and why they're important right now. Literally, okay. I just flew by the seat of my pants on this one because we did it for, when the moon hatched and everything. So I was like, I want to try doing this when we can because it is probably useful. So we have, obviously, Caspia, new POV, Starling from Nelphanex that will be able to shift into the Crux once the rite is complete, the ritus, whatever. Obviously, we find out that is Odessa's mom. Twist. Ooh.
Crazy. I thought that the whole time, I thought they were going to be sisters.
Yeah.
Like separated at birth or something.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I was like, oh no. And then I put it in the Fable chat, our virtual book club, Bessie's in the book club. I put in somewhere in a chapter, I put like a prediction and then I said, don't keep reading, if you don't like guessing games, because I do like to try to figure things out. And I was like, I have a strong inkling that this might be her mom. I'm not sure, but I just want to throw it out there. That way if I'm right, I know I was right. So, but then I don't really want it because then it's like, well, what do we know of her vision? You're thinking maybe it's her that died. Then I'm trying to remember, did he get a good look at her? Well, she would look like her, so it could be her mom. And so I didn't figure out who it was that her vision was yet. That was crazy. I didn't really figure out that twist until we hear from later on, Emery, the woman that she was going for, trying to save, her sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I was proud of myself on that guess. I pretty much can never guess twists in books, so it doesn't make it any less good because I had a good prediction, and it was like probably 10 chapters before we find out, so it wasn't like super early in the game. So, and then I saw Fantasy with Me guessed it a few chapters later. So I was like, oh, I think I'm onto something here then. And then, it all connects. So pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, she is mercy killed by, Odessa's dad, King Andreas Cross, when she turns into the Crux. And that land turns him into monsters. So sad. So Andreas, as we know now, Odessa's dad, he is King Cross. He fell in love with Caspia. And then Xandra, which I think we'll see again, Caspia's cousin, who she traveled to for the ritus, and who turned into the Berry Wolf, who everyone is assuming right now is probably the Berry Wolf that attacked Ransom and stalks him.
Oh,
so it's all
God.
Connected.
That twist right there. I was like when I read, because I think it was Fantasy and Me. I think it was Heather who was like, literally, that has got to be Xandra. And I was like, ah! Like, I was screaming. I was like, that's crazy, but you're totally right. Like, it has to be.
It has to be. Yeah. So, that's crazy.
I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be, but if it wasn't, that would be crazy.
Yeah. Even Odessa herself makes that guess, right? Like, I wonder if it's her after reading these journals. Okay.
Yep.
So then we have Emery. We find out Emery is actually the one that was slain by Ransom. Sorry, everybody has so many names. That's why it's like crazy. So we'll call him Ransom still. So that is who he slayed. But they are okay because it was a mercy. It's to protect all these people. So it's an understanding. We don't have like a weird animosity growing. It's like we did what had to be done.
Honestly, it was so refreshing. That was one of the things that I loved about Andreas and Caspia's relationship was the fact that like they're from two different countries. I mean, she's literally from a continent he'd never even heard of before, which is crazy to think about too.
Yeah.
And I loved that like they were able to see that they had completely different perceptions of reality and history without casting judgment on each other or assuming that the other person was lying or getting angry. It's like, no, we literally grew up across the world from each other and see things completely differently because of our lived experience. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, wow, that's like such an evolved thinking.
We didn't get bogged down by the bullshit. So
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
nice. Yeah, that was nice. And then same thing even with finding out, oh no, you basically killed my cousin, my aunt. Somehow, you killed one of my ancestors, Ransom did, to, golly, these names, I swear. Odessa. So she doesn't hold anything against him when she finds out.
Yeah.
That is well, yes, he kept that
like,
from
what were you
her.
supposed to do?
But yeah, what are you supposed to do? So that was so heartbreaking, though, that we basically read that perspective from Queen Olena, who is the Queen Starling, and Emery, where she comes back with her beloved Max, and then they have a baby, but they go back, and we know that they are the ones that get killed. So sad, because they don't know that if they go to that land, that's what's going to happen. But they're being pulled. They're being drawn and they're pulled. And I think they're being harvested for their magic. I think that's what the Vosters are doing.
There's got to be some... Yeah, we'll get into that with the Vosters later. But there's got to be some... It can't just be as simple as that. There has to be some kind of like nefarious like dealings going on that like Ransom's dad also is a part of.
Right. Like, what's Ramsay doing?
Yeah.
Yep. So then we're kind of reintroduced to Margot and May, which I also enjoy the way that was handled too, So we have Andreas saying they never even shared a bed together. So no, those aren't your biological siblings in any way, but it actually makes their bonds even stronger, I feel. May, is dealing with not having this life goal accomplished anymore and trying to figure out her place, but Odessa's still wanting to openly embrace her, If anything, I think it's going to make the relationship stronger. May kind of comes in, tries to save her as well. Connection
honestly,
unstable.
the second that she hands her baby to Margot, I was like, oh my God, like my brain like short circuited. I was like, oh my God. It made you see, I think that also was really, this is why I love dual POV, okay? Is because it's like, now you see the king in a completely different light. It's like, dude held her dead body for 2 days.
If that's not Heathcliff, I don't know what is.
Like, no wonder. And he just can't look at his own daughter because she looks like, the same. It's like, you see Margot in a completely different light. Like, it's like May, you're introduced to General Hawksley, who's literally been friends with the king since the olden days, who is the father of May. It's like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So well done.
Yeah.
And then we have other people that I definitely think are going to come up, friends and things like that. I love that little full circle treat that she gave us where Odessa meets grown up Koss with still Faxon, who adopted him.
Yes.
That was so sweet.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I loved that too.
Yeah, those little things. So let's go over the gods real quick. So the gods of Kalandra, I'm going to say gods in air quotes. So they were mortal men, magicians, which it is hard to take seriously, not going to lie.
I know, like just using the term, I get it, because she uses the terminology magicians because their power is a farce, basically, right? Like, yeah. And so, yes, like, while it makes sense, it also is like you just picture a cape and a wand and a pulling a rabbit out of a hat. And so it kind of did pull me out a little bit too, I gotta admit.
Yeah. But that's all right. We're powering through it. We're looking past it. Magicians. So these magicians made pacts with demons, and they stored their power in 6 orbits, which must be destroyed to end this curse they're hoping. So we have the Kennen, who are a faction of the Voster. They all came from Kennen, but the Voster high priestess call them the Kennen, who they believe are working they paint them as like extremists. So the Kennen are seen as negative and bad, and they're going against the Voster, who everybody is believed to be good, holy saints that just want love and peace and happiness, right? Because we're all confused on the Voster. It's like, are they good? Are they bad? Well, there's both, and it depends who it is that we're talking about. So
okay, so maybe can you clear this up for me a little bit, because I was a little bit confused by this. So Ransom's basically like, we need to get away from Brother Score and Brother, well, who's the other main one? I can't remember his name.
Brother Dime.
Like, we need to get away from them because they're obviously like essentially working like with the Kennen, which are the bad guys. But are they really bad guys, or are they like Hale, and are they basically like the Resistance?
Yeah, exactly. So we have the High Priest, because that is who Ransom has always worked with, is the High Priest, because he is in Alisaria, the hidden city. So
yeah,
it's propaganda. We're dealing with propaganda right now. We're dealing with conspiracies, and I feel like I left the book wanting to believe that Dime and Score are the Resistance. I think that is what we're supposed to be believing too.
Yeah.
So we're leaving Shield of Sparrows being skeptical, not really understanding their place, and that's maybe because we are meeting other brothers, so we don't really know. And then they're very tight-lipped, as we know, frustratingly so. So yeah, I kind of left the book as this is what we're supposed to believe, but I'm still waiting for more information. So from what I gather, we have a few brothers in the Resistance. It could still be one of those situations where they're manipulated to go and collect these things and they're not supposed to,
Yeah.
But I just don't know. The evidence right now is showing me that they're part of the Resistance, and because of the curses and everything. So we have all that other, evidence that this land used to be fine. They're destroying all the history before this crux migration started happening. And now there's illnesses, and now it's spreading, and things are getting worse because we're finding out that basically the orbits are polluting the waters and everything. So, because the magic is basically like a type of poison leaching into the land. So it makes sense that Dime and Score and a few of these other brothers that we were introduced to are like, it's not worth it. This is bad. This is bad news bears. I don't want this anymore. And are trying to pedal back and try to save the land as best they can. Well, but they can't find them on their own. So that's hard.
Well, because they don't, it's like they need the, they
need a Starling.
They need a Starling basically to like seek them out or whatever, just like Caspia did in the crevasse, and just like Odessa did presumably in the cave. So like the Voster who we meet at the end, who ends up getting his head chopped off in her vision, that's what leads me to believe that it's like they're part of the underground resistance, and basically like the head Voster or the priest or whatever is like working with the king and maybe other kings too, to keep all of this going. Because really it seems pretty simple. You find the things that contain their blood. What are they called again? I forgot.
Orbs, like
the orbits. Yeah.
Those.
So it's like you find the orbits and you get rid of those, and then you no longer have a crux migration. It solves the whole problem.
And Lissa. So Lissa is a direct result of that magic ruining the world. So Luella isn't even fully responsible for that. So I'm still a little murky on that. I mean, it sounds like Lissa literally only exists in the first place because of this magic poisoning the land. But Luella did have a hand in maybe altering it just enough that it can go to humans now, right? So we still have a little bit of responsibility there. That's how I took it as. But nonetheless, we're hoping that if we get rid of that magic, also it'll save Ransom and stop this spread, and it can reverse all of these damages that are made. We're hoping, but we don't know, right? So yes, all those things lead me to believe that Brother Dime and Score, as far as we know, are good guys. I have here, so we have Brother Hain, who was in Caspia's first, POV. R.I.P. guy depleted his magic to tell her all the information
was his name.
I could.
Yeah, I think that my autocorrect corrected it to Hale. So sorry if that's what I called him.
That's all right. Autocorrect sucks. And then we have obviously Brother Dime. So right now I said marked trusted for now. Worked as a shield also for King Andreas Cross. So Dime stepped in after the loss of Caspia and all of that. So he basically stepped in as a secret resistance guy, just enough to keep away the priests from coming and bothering him. So then we have Brother Score, who is Kenan officially. He actually has been going all these years with, I forget his name, the one that Margot's with, isn't it? To go and try to find and to narrow down locations on the orbits.
With Hawksley. Yes.
Yes, with Hawksley. Yes, so he's going off with Hawksley. That's why people don't really know much about him, because he seems to have a lot of power, because he's the one that can control and pull his power in. So there we go. I also believe, correct me if I'm wrong or whatever, I believe he was originally Brother Nold and changed it to Score. I thought I read...
That would make sense to me as well, because I had that down too, but that I was a little bit fuzzy on that also. I actually have
I believe that he said, your mother knew me as Brother Nold or something.
Okay, so let's just confirm. That makes
him
sense.
To knowing, Yes. So just to clarify for anybody that was confused on that too, because it's a quick sentence, you might miss it. So... And then also to clarify, Elisaria, so that was the Mystery Land in the first book, but now we know that is where the priesthood resides. They built their temples and castles, if you will, over the land, and that's presumably at least where one of the orbits is stored. And then there's a couple other guesses of where the other 3 are, so that would make 6. So we're going to go on a little scavenger hunt in the next book, that's for sure.
Yes.
I think it'll be a good one, though. Don't worry, I'm not scared.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, like, just, to go back to like the characters, because we obviously have a ton of characters that live in this new place, right? So last time we went over just like the basic countries for Shield of Sparrows. Now we're adding in a whole other continent, which is called Ken. The people that we know of, so Caspia and her family, the royal family, live in a town called Sho, which is in Nelphenex. Okay, so that's all we know, aside from the fact that there's another continent named Azon, south of Ken, and another continent named Elium, which is also south of Ken. So there's like all these places that like we haven't even really explored. And I remember also Caspia's aunt, the queen, so Aunt Oleana, mentioning that there were several corrupt kings on their side of the world too.
Yeah.
So it's like...
So I think that's the problem, that it's not cut and dry and it's not easy for us yet because we don't even have all the information yet.
Yeah.
Intentionally so.
Yeah. It's like, I think that's why I loved this book so much though, and I think it's a reason why a lot of people didn't, right? Is like this idea that a lot of people are like, wait, I don't care about this other point of view and these new people. And it's like, no, now we're getting like this whole other... Instead of just looking at this one world, one continent, it's like we have all this other stuff that's going on, which makes complete sense because they're essentially like clashing and there's all these issues going on between them. Also, something I wanted to bring up too is that we don't know how long, I don't think, like, do we know how long Starlings live?
No, I don't think we know.
So I keep thinking, who's still over in Nelphenex? Who's related to, obviously, everyone else now, right? To Odessa. Like, what family does she have over there? I don't know. Like, I wonder about that.
I said that actually with too much confidence. I don't know. I have no idea. Like, it might have been clearly stated, in the early chapters where we weren't fully paying attention. Yeah. So...
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they are long-lived. It makes sense that they would in, like, a fantasy series, a fae series. Especially because 20 years passed between the death of Caspia and the return of Emery to that land. So
it makes sense that she's got a bunch of family over there. And what I like about it is we're not dealing with 2 separate realms. We're literally dealing with another continent across the sea. So it's not like they have to figure out, how are we going to magically transport into this other realm? It's like, okay, it might be hard to navigate to get there, but not without Odessa. Odessa might be drawn to Nelphenex if they put her on a ship and sail out there far enough. And so I love that, thinking about that.
Yeah.
Where's that going to go?
Sure. Guys, you don't like the dual point of view? Well, you should.
You should.
Because it needs to happen, literally. And just trust us, you'll love it.
Well, and I think it was also a really perfect way of showing through fantasy how, depending on where you grow up, the same objective history can look like two completely different realities.
Yeah.
That's like fascinating, like to see that, right? It's like to Caspia, she's like, oh, the Swifts are like our freaking companions. Like, we love them. They're so wonderful. We try to turn into we turn into them because they're amazing. And then obviously over here in Kalandra, it's like all the people are afraid of them because they're these huge monstrous animals that kill a bunch of people all the time, you know? So it's just, that's how I felt like it was a good example of showing how easily, like I said, the same thing can mean two very different things to groups of people, depending on where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you even see that play out in the histories that are told of basically where the Brotherhood comes from. So we're kind of like still questioning that, like the war that they were in, who was really the bad guys? Is it the other continent that pushed them out because they were doing bad things? Like, I can't wait to know more history about that.
Yeah, I have a lot of that
situation
down in like the lore section that I was kind of interested about because it's like, we get lore from Ransom's point of view. We get lore from who was the Voster who like battled his magic to be able to like tell Caspia the truth. I can't remember his name.
Here we go. I have to write it down. Hain,
yeah.
Brother
Hain. So it's like we get obviously some lore from his perspective, but we don't know yet what's exactly true.
Yeah. And I gave like a pretty obviously watered down, condensed version of some of the Brotherhood's history that we were told from his point of view. But that's chapter 50. I've read it twice now, and I will read it again.
Yeah.
It is a lot of information. It's not long, but chapter 50, if you're like, you know, watching this as a recap or something like that, I would recommend. I'm going to reread as a future note to myself too, reread chapter 50 to get like a better grasp.
It's gonna come up.
It's crazy.
Again. Yeah. And like
info dump in a good way, but confusing because it's coming from these freaking priests and they are confusing.
And so they're so cryptic. They talk in riddles. We're like, dude, we're already confused. What's going on? So and at the end when I share the lore section, I definitely have a handful of things I'll bring up, but it's like also take it with a grain of salt because what are we realizing now that it's like the narrative is going to be completely different depending on where you're coming from and who you are. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's all intentional, I think. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the difference, like, okay, it's fine. Side note, the difference between something like this that's crazy and all over the place and info dump, but it's not all over the place. We still have a natural progression. And something like Iron Flame is that we don't have all the drama in between.
Yeah.
If it was just like this, because I feel like the last one, Onyx Shitstorm, was it what it was?
Yeah.
That one also had like all the different continents and all the craziness happening, but I was so distracted with all the drama that I didn't care about that it took away from that heart that people I think do like also.
Well, it was more about like
I like it done.
It was more about like the characters on page, like and their personal issues.
Yeah.
As opposed to like this is very much about the lore and the history because they're trying to solve this major problem, and the characters I feel like in this series and Shield of Sparrows series are more interested in figuring out the truth and solving the issues, whereas I felt like in the Empyrean it kind of went down the rabbit hole of it seemed like the main characters in that series became more interested in their own personal like petty problems. And so that's what lost us, I think, you know, because I feel like, the plot in both is really interesting because there's a lot of like, obviously political scheming and propaganda going on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I just realized when we were talking through it and all the craziness. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else that we should go over before we get into tropes and a little bit more lighthearted things of this series?
So
sometimes, depending.
I already brought up all the new places. So those were already mentioned. This time we didn't have very many. So that was pretty easy to go over. You know, and then I just put new monsters. Okay, we only had one new monster, the Chiroptis. And I think, other than the Crux, just for obvious reasons, I think the Chiroptis might be my new favorite.
Right? I'm hoping they get so cute and nice when they get rid of the bad magic. Oh my gosh.
I know.
They're so like vicious and cute. I am the knight.
I know.
I mean, they're terrifying, but like in a cute way.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So,
Because we know that they're
yeah.
not really bad.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
They're just drawn that way. Oh no.
Yeah. So that's it, though. I think we went over major characters. Oh, before we forget, though, I did think it was important to also note, too, that some new characters that will probably, my assumption would be, become more important moving forward are going to be the Mavens. And so I really liked them, and I want to make sure that we mention them. So they're the mercenary warriors that are working for some guy named Salem that we don't know anything about this person. Okay. So I feel like that's definitely going to come up again too. Cause all we know is that he's like this terrible person who basically like holds these things over their heads and makes it very, hard for them to escape his grasp or buy their freedom. And Thora is obviously also Kathleen's niece. So I feel like we're going to find some things out about that as well. And they did come back around at the end of the book. I thought they were just going to like wander off and be gone, but then they came back. So I'm excited to see what goes on with them too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, so what about some tropes you loved, Ashley? What are your 3 faves?
Propaganda and conspiracies. Yeah, that's what made this book more set apart from the first one, because we're getting more into the why. So I'm loving that. Loving the way it was done. So cool. Can't wait to find some answers out on who really the bad guys are.
Right.
Yeah. Obviously dual POV, but not just that, simultaneously a different timeline.
Yes.
Ooh. This might have been my favorite way it has been done so far. Yeah. So cool. So cool. And then we have emotional twists. It's not just twists, but like, ooh, heart-wrenching. Like, oh, say it isn't so. That means she's dead. They'll never meet. Oh, it's so sad. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I put dual timelines, even more than that. It's like, dual point of view, dual timelines. It's like, that's just, super satisfying the way that this was done, for sure. I mean, I would have been satisfied if they were, sisters separated at birth, but I was like, this is even better, because it's like, she thinks that her visions are of the past and they're actually of the future. It's like, oh my God. It's like, wrapping your head around that for a second, like, can be a little, like, I just sat there and kind of like thought about it, because I had to like absorb it. I was like, okay, so she's not seeing what she thinks she's seeing. She's seeing what we know is now the future. Oh my God, my brain's exploding. Okay.
Right? Like a reread of this would be so fun. Because it's like, oh, the snake girl, that she was like, dude, why did I just read about that in this journal? That is crazy. That happens, I guess, a lot. That's what I was thinking. Like, oh, it's like a healing journal. Like how to fix this if you get bit by this thing.
I knew it had to be something.
They were premonitions. Premonitions, but now, like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I put secret lineage.
That's a good one.
That was very fun to find out about, for sure. And then I put hidden lands, because it's not really a hidden land, but like to us it is, right? And so I loved that as well.
Yeah. I also put cursed lands, because the land is cursed. And they got to fix it. They got to cure it. And the only cure is more cowbell. So, ding, 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 ding. He's just gonna come in there, save the day.
Yeah. If only it was that easy. And then Ransom just gets better and everything's great. And the big bats are nice now. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't think of a trope that I hated, so help me out here. What is one trope that you hated? Maybe it'll spark something in my brain.
Okay, I have 2. One of them's necessary, so hey. I don't really like the whole like religious zealot thing. It's like gross to me, but also it's supposed to be, so there's that. It's like, I feel like it's very common in fantasy, but usually it's like witches, and they're usually female, so I kind of like that this is a little bit different. The one that I didn't like that might actually be an unpopular opinion is I felt like there was a little bit too much insta-love between Andreas and Caspia, and I didn't love that.
Yeah, but I like that she kept leaving him.
Yes, but I was kind of like...
because that helped my brain, because I was also like, don't do it yet. No.
I just struggled with, she kept on leaving him because obviously her allegiances are to her own family and whatever. Yeah, for sure. But like, here's the thing. I'm like, first of all, you haven't known each other for very long. You don't really know much about this guy. All he tells you is that he's like wealthy and is from Quentis, but he hasn't even told you who he really is. Or who his family is. And he's nice, but it's like you guys also have limited communication because you literally have had to learn each other's languages to talk to each other. He doesn't know who you really are because you can't tell him that you're a Starling for fear of what that might mean. And he's going to come save you from a monster, and then you're going to be like, all right, it's fine. You can just travel with me. Even though she could turn any day. I don't know. That I didn't love. I felt like she built trust with him, in my opinion, too fast.
Yeah, I was skeptical of him the whole time. I don't know if that's intentionally so, but I do feel like what we ended up finding out, he could have had some better character development.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that would have changed in any way, because we don't know a lot about him in book 1, and obviously he's an a-hole. So it didn't help his cause, in my opinion.
I feel like we could have found more out about him in a way that didn't spoil who he was.
Yeah.
And we didn't. And I don't know if that was intentional because of the fact that it's like they could only communicate so much in the beginning, and it took them a while to get to know each other because of these barriers of culture and language, etc. But then at the same time, it's like, well, then that should be reason enough to maybe not like invite him on your special journey. I don't know. I was like a little bit weirded out by that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe unpopular opinion. I feel like by the end of it, it made sense. It made us see the king in a completely different light. We now have a lot more empathy for his story. But I do feel like his character could have been built a little bit better, personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not that we need to like debate, but I will say what I like about the religious zealot trope, the way it's being done right now, is that I think that the Brotherhood is under the guise of religion.
Uh-huh.
And it's not that at all. It's just them hoarding magic and being able to live forever.
Yeah.
So I like where that's going.
Totally. Yeah. And I feel like that's common when it comes to that quote unquote. It's almost like the line between what's considered religious and what's considered magic, I feel, or what's considered science are very blurry, especially if we're dealing with fantasy/medieval times. And so I feel like it's kind of all one and the same, right? It's like, what is magic? What is science? Like, what is religion? Is everything all of the above? Is everything nothing? Like, I don't know. I don't want to get too philosophical, but like, really. And so I agree with you. It's like they're using it to advance their station and protect themselves. So I do like that. I think it just creeps me out. I'm not saying that I would choose for it to be different. It's just every time it's like comes up, it just creeps me out.
Yeah. Okay, so a trope that I didn't like is, all-knowing beings will say, withholding information in an annoying way and only giving one-word answers.
Yes.
Like the whole time. When you have all this time,
Dude.
I understand. Like, it helps a little bit that they're under these blood oaths and they have to ask the right questions. So maybe they're frustrated because nobody's asking the right questions that they can answer. But figure it out. Like, you've had, I don't know, let's say generations, 11 generations or something, to figure out how to communicate for your cause, because this is taking too long. People are dying, Grandpa. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I struggle with the, like, I can't tell you because I'm under a blood oath, but just so you know, it rhymes with, like, you know what I mean? Like, I hate that.
Charades. Like, figure it out. You know the language. Like, let's go.
But it's also, like, that makes blood oaths seem kind of stupid to me because I'm like, You know, it's just, it makes it feel, the magic is flimsy. If you're able to, like, ask me the right question, wink, wink, cough, cough, and, like, we'll come up with the answer. You know, I'll give you this book and highlight the passages that are important. It's just, I don't know. Like, that's weird.
Like, I'll write myself a letter and give it to myself.
Yes.
But then you're going to steal it. Yeah.
I will write it in code, but then give you the key to the code.
Yeah.
It just seems flimsy. I don't know. So that's why it rubs me a little wrong.
Yeah. That's a little flimsy. That's a little flimsy right there. I will say that.
But it's not, I mean, but that happens in so many books. Like this.
I mean, so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have
It is what it is.
Was that your micro trope, or do you have a micro trope you liked?
That was the trope I remembered that I hated.
Oh, okay.
Okay. My niche micro trope that I actually enjoyed this time.
Okay.
Magic is bad. When do we read fantasy books where magic is bad?
Mm-hmm. I mean, oftentimes it's used for bad, for evil.
For bad, yeah. But this is like literally poisoning the lands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, will magic exist in this land at all? What is what are the Starlings? How can they turn? Is that just a separate thing? You know, like, does magic exist in this world without this Voster situation? Because we're not really seeing it with other people, but maybe the other continents do have magic or some form of it. And I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I put hidden identity, but not really, because we just didn't realize who they were talking about. That's what
Yeah, but that's intentional from the author, so still hidden. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hidden identity, but it's different. I don't know what to call that. It's like Andreas is King Cross, but we don't realize that it's younger version of him, right? So it's like it's hidden identity, but only hidden from like us, I guess.
The reader. Yeah.
I like that a lot because it adds like a different element. It adds a different layer than just a straight up hidden identity where like the characters in the book don't know who they are. You know what I mean? So yeah. Loved it.
Yeah, this is gonna be a reread next year because now, just like with some of the other recent fantasy rereads we did, like when the moon hatched, we don't have to be bogged down, if you will, by trying to figure out who everybody is and the predictions and what they mean. Now we can like say, okay, what was this vision? This never happened in the book. So what is that predicting for book 3? Like, what is this saying? Who was this person? What was that history lesson that I breezed right over and didn't think about later?
Right. Totally.
There's probably a lot of that in there.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite part you wanted to call out specifically? I mean, I loved this whole book, but one thing you want to mention?
Like, yeah, the part that stood out to me is officially figuring out that Caspia is Odessa's mom.
Yeah.
And, that her POV was all in the past, which means that Odessa is reading the predictions of her right now, her present, like in future, and like all of that.
Yeah.
Being connected was my favorite thing.
Yeah. That's what I put. Realizing who everyone was and what the timeline is. Yeah, time travel is confusing. But for some reason, I was able to digest this okay. With only not freaking out too bad. You know what I mean? Because it made sense, but at the same time, it's like the visions can kind of start getting confusing if you overthink it. But we might, as you just said, not know everything yet. Yeah.
It was literally, and because she did Caspia, Odessa, it helped. I think it gets messed up for me when I'm reading the dual POVs and timelines, and sometimes multiple POVs, is when it's like too many chapters in a row of the same person, and then we get a glimpse of the other one, and then it's like, okay, you got to stop doing that because it's whiplash.
What I feel like Devney Perry did was she took 2 books, and instead of having, you know, book 2 be Odessa's journey, and then book 3 being, you know, like a partner novel or actually a sequel that has Caspia's journey, she was like, I'm just going to give you I'm just going to give you, what is the word I'm looking for right now? I'm going to give you the tandem read.
Yeah.
Right now at the same time. And then I'm going to probably give you, you know, even more of multi-POV, just maybe not different timelines, but we don't know that because we also don't know what's going on with Odessa's family over on Nelphinex. So that's why I'm just like, things could get even crazier.
Yeah.
If that's possible.
Oleana has to come into play at some point, but I hope she doesn't try coming to the continent because she's gonna get turned into a bad monster. So,
well, even like I was thinking about her niece. What was her name? I can't.
I have it here because I have it in unanswered questions. Griselia.
Yes, yeah. I feel like she's gonna come back around. Like,
something's gonna. There's more. They have to go there. They have to go there.
Yeah.
At some point.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yep.
Okay. Did you have a least favorite part?
Yeah, the rapey soldiers. That sucks. Yeah.
I mean, I do love that was the moment where May and Odessa seemed to finally team up, and they were so badass. I wish that they would have just kicked all their asses themselves, but, you know, okay, fine.
Right.
We'll have the Guardian come in and, like, save the day, sure. But, like,
yeah,
they sucked for sure, but I did like that definitely relationship built them together a little bit more. And it was interesting that May also literally said, I want to go with you guys back to Tura when you go.
Yeah.
I was like, I love that.
Exactly.
So hopefully we get a little bit more of May in the future too. I feel like she's a really cool character. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I put here that my least favorite part was that at this point in time, I feel like the Voster lore was a bit convoluted for me. And so I struggle with that because my brain just goes like this. It just goes around and around and around and around. Because I can't like accept that I'm not going to get an answer for another like year. You know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. I just have to like be okay with it. I feel like the way that you described it too, though, like helped me like talk it out as far as like, we don't have all the information. Obviously we're dealing with different points of view and propaganda at this point. So like at this point, everything could be true or nothing could be true. Right?
Yeah. Or it's probably just a mix of all of it, you know? That's what it usually is.
And then obviously, too, I put Caspia dying because that was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Brutal. Brutal. Okay, who was your favorite character?
My favorite character was definitely Caspia in this book, for sure. I mean, I love Odessa. Yeah. I love the Guardians still, of course. They're great. But I mean, Caspia was awesome.
Yeah. Caspia was great. I love that she saw the visions and was like, okay, well, at this point she realizes there's nothing she can do. She can't stop this stuff from happening. And she decides to journal, you know, early on. So that's great. And then obviously saw the writing on the wall and made plans and set her up for the best success that she could figure out, except maybe talking to Andreas a little bit more about what he should do moving forward. Because we'll talk about that in least favorite characters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we could go straight into that if you want to, if Caspia was your favorite.
Yeah. I mean, special shout out. Everybody that helped. Yeah, Faxon and Hale, all that. Super fun.
Thora, we better see more of her in the future.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And May.
So I think there's a lot more to be developed in there. I actually didn't love Ransom in this book.
I mean, he was kind of like not in it that much, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. But I just felt like, you know, because he was withholding information. She was too, sure. But like, now's not the time, guys. Like, we need to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
So I felt like, also because, and we should put a clarification, or we should talk about it real quick because it was being talked about in the book club chat, that Ransom never saying I love you back. That's freaking weird. Okay. Obviously he ends up saying exactly what I figured. Well, like, I'm scared to say it and blah, blah, blah. Like, getting hurt. It's like, well, she already loves you. It's so much worse that you're not saying it back. So get over yourself.
Literally, reminded me. Okay, two things. Reminded me so much of my husband, because that's how he was in the beginning of our relationship. Okay. Two, it reminded me of The Witcher, because we literally have to wait until almost the end of the second season or whatever. The newest season was at 3. I can't even remember. It all blends together. Basically to the very end of the Henry Cavill seasons for him to finally tell, you know, Yennefer that he loves her. And it's like, and so same thing. It's like, you obviously know that he loves her because he would travel across freaking realms and time to like do anything for her, you know, but he won't just say the words. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's like nefarious at this point or like hidden meaning. I think it just might like track with his character.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it might. There might be
we'll see.
more to it. I don't know.
I'm not even saying that. It's annoying.
Yeah.
So.
For sure.
Yeah. But overall, like, I just wasn't as, like, connected to his character, but we just don't see a lot of them on page together.
Yeah.
And that might be intentional for one reason or another. It's not his time, baby. But my least favorite character is still Odessa's dad, even though we have all this information. Okay. Somehow it makes it worse.
Oh,
okay. I understand. I get it. He's traumatized. I get it. He looks like your love of your life that you held for 2 days. This isn't one of the, and it's not to excuse that either, because it's not okay when a dad is like, well, you killed my mom. Like, she had nothing to do with this, you know? Like, what are you, like, and that's kind of, it's sad, because actually I feel like Odessa even says, I know my dad loves me, you know, but, like, he's cold.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, same thing with Ransom. He's doing that to her. He's not saying I love you either. But I think that he didn't need to be so cold to her. Like, I get, he explains himself and why he made the choices that he did, and he's trying to protect her and basically make sure she's unfit to be the sparrow, so that she doesn't have to go to Torah and be next to the priestess, the priesthood, because of all of this stuff.
Because they would kill her, probably.
But you're not gonna, like, say, hey, sweetie, you might turn into a scary crux one day.
Yeah.
Hey, honey, you're from a different bloodline that's, like, crazy magical, so you might get visions. Like, it's like a dad never telling their daughter what a period is, you know? Obviously, it's not that extreme, but, like, hello, you can talk about it. Like, I don't know. It did her a disservice. And I understand he's like, well, the less you knew, the less, like, it's better to know. But it's, like, not really, though. Because, like, what do we get at the very end of the book? We get a sudden thrum in Odessa's body. And we know what that means. But does she? I mean, now she kind of does. She knows because of the journals. But, so I don't forgive him. That's the Aquarius in me, I think. But I'm mad.
I wouldn't say...
He could have handled that better.
Yeah, I mean, he for sure could have handled that better. I wouldn't say that I forgive him, but I wouldn't say that I see him as negatively as I saw him before. Like, I definitely have, like, more empathy for his situation. And he was probably also, like, the one thing that Caspia would want me to do is keep her alive. And by keeping her unawares of her situation... and as hidden as possible from, the Voster and stuff, like, I'm hopefully letting her fly under the radar as much as possible. You know what I mean? So it's like, I could kind of see both sides of it, but no, did he have to be, like,
and
a
he's
jerk?
he's still finding the orbits.
Yeah.
So he's still hunting. Like, he's still trying to take care of that and say as little as possible. You know, and maybe it's just one of those things that just time got away from him. Like, I can relate to that as a parent. Nothing of what he did, but just that, like, oh, you blink and they're 20 years old getting married off, and they weren't expecting that whatsoever. So he might have thought, you know, once May gets shipped off, then I can tell her about all this stuff. Maybe he's thinking he has more time. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he even, like, said, I don't remember who said, I thought it was him, but I think that he might also be living under the assumption that because she is half sparrow, half human, that she might not have the same, I don't know, like, she might not go through the rite. Like, she might not have the same biology, like, or be susceptible to the same things. Well, I think we're going to find out that that is not right. That's an incorrect assumption.
Feels a bit, I lost the word, but not like a good idea.
Yeah, like a bad idea for sure. Negligent, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it is negligent, but at the same time, it's like, when do you tell... You can't tell her when she's a kid, because if you tell her before she has enough agency, then she might accidentally tell someone, and then the Voster are going to come and kill you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's like a crap situation, because then it's like, okay, do you tell her once she's, 16, and you feel like she can, like, handle it? Like, what do you... that's a gray area.
And you're probably hoping that you find all the orbits, and then he can destroy them, and then you never have to worry about it.
Exactly.
So
I mean, he is obsessively doing that. I think I could see both sides of it, so I don't hate him as much as I did, but I also don't like him. Yeah. He's kind of like a neutral to me at this time, but I do like that he's been searching for the orbits, like, in the background the whole time, trying to resolve this.
Yes.
Because he's been obsessed for, this whole time, trying to complete
he's trying
Caspia's
to keep
work.
it going for her.
Yeah.
And I did like that. I mean, hey, he never even shared a bed with Margot. So, and he lets them have their thing, and it's an agreement, and it's just a facade, and it works for everybody. And the way he held her. Okay, I get that. Okay, but I'm still mad at him as a father.
Yeah, as a father, he's made a lot of mistakes for sure. Yeah. I feel like, I think that's also intentional though, right? Is like, because we get Andreas. It's almost like Andreas and King Cross are two different people. And I think it's because like they are.
Yeah, well... Yeah, they are, but still, just like you said, I didn't even love Andreas either.
No,
so
I didn't either, but he was definitely... I didn't love his character, but I think it's because it wasn't developed enough for me. Like, but it's not like he objectively did anything wrong, right? If anything, he was like kind of the perfect guy, aside from not telling her that he was kind of bland, aside from telling her that he was betrothed, but then he even like goes out of his way to annul the betrothment.
Right. I mean, and she can turn into a scary, rabid monster crow. So I get they both held secrets from each other. So totally. I could accidentally kill you in your sleep. Oops. We're equal.
but then he even resolves that, right? It's like, because I was expecting that to go a different direction too, where he was going to be like, I can't. I'm royal. My parents are going to make me do it. Blah blah blah. And he was like, no, I'm actually going to do the right thing. So it kind of, I think, might symbolize that, like, his personality, like, he became a shell of a man, like, after her death, because of the fact that he was the one who had to literally kill her.
It is. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So
it's pretty bad.
It's a both and, I think, for me, for sure. But he still has some redemption to do.
Yeah, let's see him do it. Let's go. It's go time.
All right. Let's see then. Do you have any quotes that you would like to share?
Yeah, we'll go bounce back and forth.
Okay.
Good will always battle evil. Bottle. I can't read. My eyes are going. It's getting worse. Okay. Unblur. Good will always... Okay. Good will always battle evil. Now I'm going through puberty, so that's great. I'm turning into a Crocs. Good will always battle. Sorry.
All of a sudden, Ashley just flies away.
I kind of wanna. This whole house is sick. I'm scared. It's gonna be a bad week. Okay. Good will always battle evil, he said. Light will always fight the dark. In those moments, you'll learn who you truly are. One of the weird Voster dudes. Yep.
Why have the Six cursed us with these monsters? Why do they hate us? Because they are petty gods, he said, because only humans have the power to make the gods insignificant.
Whoa, dude. Wow, it's deep. You told me to find a warrior. You meant her. No, girl, said Score.
No, girl.
I meant you.
No, girl.
He does say that, though, but you're right. No, girl. I meant you. Oh, get it. You're the warrior always meant to have. I love that.
I wrote that one down, too. Like, dude.
No, girl. Girl, I meant you.
It's like inflection so important.
Wake up.
Oh my God. I love that though, because like literally that's like how we leave off, right? Knowing that it's like she's meant to be the warrior, meaning Odessa is meant to be the warrior, and she is feeling called to what we are assuming is her transformation.
I loved that. Ooh, it's like also you're kind of an asshole, but I still love it because you set me on a wild goose chase for myself.
Yeah, literally. Come on. But also, does that mean she's going to be able to find Nelphinex? I hope so.
Yes, it does.
I hope so.
I do believe that.
That would make her not only a princess of Quentis, but that would make her a princess of Nelphinex also, you know?
Oh. Ooh, whoa. Queen of England over here. That's beautiful. It's going to be so exciting. Okay.
It wasn't only monsters I had to fear on this journey. Men could be just as cruel.
Yep, they are. Rather be with a crux than a man in the woods. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Religious persecution was simply the guise for slaughter and invasion.
Tale as old as time, I dare say.
Unfortunately.
I liked this. She's talking about Andreas. Part of what made him so undeniably attractive was his acceptance. He'd believed everything I'd told him. That was the most refreshing thing to me about his character. Was she's like, hey, so here's the thing. I'm from this place you've never heard of. And he's like, okay. Like, you know, I haven't heard of every place.
Crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
And then she's like, also, I'm magical, and I'll probably turn into this crazy bird, which also are the crazy birds that attack and kill all the people that you know and love. And he's like, dang. Also crazy, but I will believe you. Like, that was just refreshing, because it's like, to not be met with resistance at every single thing, to have to prove your reality and your truth is like not something I feel like many of us experience in real life. And so to have Andreas do that was like, whoa.
Yeah, with like the most simple menial things throughout our day. Yeah. Like, I think we have chips at home. I checked this morning. No, I don't think we have chips. Oh, okay. Well,
great.
We do.
Yeah, but it's like,
Great.
He's just like accepting all of this information because he trusts her. So therefore, if she says that it's true, then you would assume that it's true until you find out that she's trying to deceive you, right? Like, that's what would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is a foreshadowing quote, I believe. May looked at me like I sprouted wings.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love those. I love those.
Yeah.
That's all I got for now.
So I liked this one. We'll give Ransom a little bit of some credit. Ransom bent and kissed my hair. You were always this woman. I knew it the day I watched you jump off that cliff. You were always my queen. It's not your fault they weren't paying attention.
Oh, I loved that. Yes.
I was like, that's refreshing too. Okay, so what did you think about the spice in this one?
Okay, so we'll talk about that, because there is a lot of off-page, or fade to black, whatever you said. I wonder if it's because it's Caspia, and it's like, we don't, maybe the author's like, it's her mom. Like, I don't want to weird you guys out.
And her dad, who's still alive.
I mean, and her dad, it's her parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's just not. But we're the readers. We don't care. So, you could have.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I will say, I was surprised because that felt different in tone to me than book one. Book one wasn't like super duper spicy either, but it definitely wasn't closed door fade to black. Not that everything in this book was like that. There was definitely some spicy scenes for sure. But it was, I felt like it was a little bit more tame. And I think that's because, you know, this book wasn't really about, I don't think it was really about the guys too much, right? Like, it was and it wasn't. Like, they're there and they're important, but like, it was really about Caspia and Odessa's journeys. And so I feel like that wasn't the main focus.
Yeah, I think we're going to get stuff later.
Yeah.
She's going to make us work for it.
Yeah. But I mean, I loved it. It was great. It was a perfect balance. I wasn't upset at all. It surprised me at first. I even commented in the Fable chat. I was like, a fade to black? Like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it might also be as simple as that. Like, these are her parents. Like, we don't need to go into details about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
So do you have any other things you wanted to mention about why this book stands out before we get into some reviews?
No, I mean, like I said, I still, like, I get why people get turned off by POVs and they're, like, confused and stuff, but I hope they keep reading, because then they'll see. I just can't imagine you'd be, like, hating on it the whole time and then you find out why and that you'd still hate it. Unless you just, they just don't like it, which is fine, but, like, that specific reason. You know what I mean? It's like, but you have to. It's okay.
I feel like that's what makes this book unique, because we get multi-POVs in a lot of books, but, like, the different timelines lining up, like, that was top tier and definitely makes this book stand out.
This is going to be one of, this is going to be one of those books, too, that are like, once the whole series are out, I don't think it'll get as much criticism with that. because people already know it's intentional, I guess, because it's like, this is we've waited a year situation. We got to wait another year. So when people go and open it and it's Caspia, who's this be? Where's Ransom? What's going on over there? Because that could be frustrating. I know that when we read Plated Prisoner, you had mentioned one of the books that doesn't have a lot of our main couple together. People were super frustrated about that because it's like an entire giant book about it, other people and them separate. So, yeah. Then it all works out. So then it all makes sense. And then people aren't mad anymore. But you got to go through a lot of crap
to get there.
Got to go through a lot of, negative to get to the sweet, whatever. Sour to get to the sweet. Yeah.
So that being said, even though I feel like a lot of the commentary that I've been seeing on Bookstagram and stuff has been very polarizing, the reviews don't lie. So right now, as of this morning, it has 86,411 reviews, but it gets a 4.52 star average.
That's good.
So that's very good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Looking good. And the audio has to be the best rated audio we have ever said on here for an audiobook. It only has, so I'll say it with a caveat, 3,890 ratings on Audible, but it gets a 4.9.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's high. I don't think I've ever seen one that high.
Well, because, I mentioned this a little bit before, but it's like this one was a legit dual narration. So even though we don't get, very many chapters from the point of view of Andreas or Ransom, they do all, like, the male narrator does all of the male characters and the female narrator does the female characters. So, I feel like that was an improvement over the last audiobook for sure. So I did enjoy this one. I did the read and listen feature probably for almost the whole thing. And I did appreciate that a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because he's got a great voice. Oof.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what a sad thing to only get it in one chapter with the last book. So that's nice to know that he does all the main male characters that come onto the page. Oh, how's the Voster voice?
That's funny that you asked that. It was great. And so it was like one of those things where it wasn't creepy at all. And so I had to keep reminding myself.
Oh, it wasn't creepy?
It wasn't creepy. So I had to keep reminding myself the Voster were creepy because he like made the Voster voices hot too. And I was like, dude.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Come on now.
See, I was thinking it'd be like a...
No, it was like, okay, great. Now
I'm a magician.
No, he voice too hot, voice too gruff so the Voster even sounded like that. So I actually mentally noted that. I was like, the Voster could have been creepier sounding. That's my only complaint.
Yeah, for sure. All
right. Okay. Well, should we get into the lore Easter egg section?
Let's do it.
All right. Do you have any specific ones that you want to bring up, or do you want me to just go right into the things that I highlighted and think might come up as being important in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know where to put the brothers stuff, so I just put it already. We already talked about all that, so I don't have anything else other than unanswered questions I'd like to just mention,
Yeah. Okay. We'll do that after the lore section, because I'll be curious.
Sounds good. You have it.
Okay, so we have this lore going on with Nelphinex that I think is important to mention because it will probably come up later. So we're getting a lot of this from Caspia's aunt, Oleana the Queen. So in the Starling's written history, there was no record of the gift ever failing to manifest. To my aunt's knowledge, Ophelia had been the first and Hera the second. So why is that happening? Okay, so unanswered question, but also a little bit of lore. Okay.
Yeah.
Then she says, we must focus on our family, this country. The Beeson King has been pushing against our southern border. If he learns that Starling blood is wilting, he may get reckless ambitions. I will not let a single Nelphinex person suffer the same fate as the Voster. They call the Voster by their own name, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Okay. We will not be driven from our own land and hunted to near extinction. We must stand strong together. So there's discord going on over there as well. And she can see these other kings kind of like circling around like vultures waiting for something to happen. I don't know if this is going to end up being important, but we see a whole lot of the elf altar going on. Okay. So we see it in the necklaces, we see it in the rings, we see it in the bracelets. So she says, I fished my necklace from beneath my tunic, letting the orange metal glint in the firelight. You have gold in Kalandra, we have Elfalter and Nelphinex. It's the purest and cleanest of all metals. It's impossibly strong, yet it can be molded under exactly the right conditions. It's as precious to us as any gem or jewel. So it just makes me wonder if perhaps that has something, like mining that or stealing that might have something to do with this whole conspiracy, possibly.
Maybe they could use it to destroy the thing somehow.
Yeah.
Like diamonds can cut glass. Maybe Elfalter can cut Voster glass.
We don't know.
I don't know.
Right here, I don't need to read the whole quote, but basically the gist is, how do we not know of any explorer person ever from Kalandra ever experiencing or coming upon the entire continent of Ken?
Right. Because it took them a lot. Well, the Starlings, Caspia were the ones that were able to find that continent.
Yes.
So that otherwise they can't. So it has to be shielded in maybe the magic in some way.
Maybe.
It has to be.
Or
something like that.
They
Something
know
is shielding.
It's there, but are keeping it a big secret from their people. Like a conspiracy.
Because it's bad.
Or something.
Yeah, or something. Well, they know that people leave and never return to wherever the Crux go. They're swift or whatever. So, yeah, lots. Interesting. You bring up some good points here.
So this is a little bit of the history of the Voster from the perspective of Caspia. Okay. I'd heard rumors of their unique appearance, but few people in Nelphinex ever encountered their race. They become all but a myth in Ken, and their history a warning for other countries. Ages ago, they lived in a country that bordered Bisa, the 5th country in Ken, a country that no longer existed. The Bisons had invaded and waged a war against the Voster, persecuting them for their religion. After 100 summers of fighting, the Bisons were victorious. The Voster had been slaughtered, their homeland stolen. Those who had survived had fled into hiding. Most lived deep in the wilderness, though the Bisons still hunted their people. But they must have fled to Kalandra too then. When? How many had come here? And how had he made those books float? So it's like, if the Voster literally traveled from Ken to Kalandra, then on the bare minimum, you'd think they would know. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. It just seems odd to me that it's like no one has... I mean, if you're talking about Andreas, who obviously is a royal, has access to all the information in the library, supposedly all, he'd probably know most of the becoming king. He would know all the insider info, and he still hasn't heard of it, except from Caspia.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird.
Well, they started destroying the books and the history and stuff.
Exactly.
So did they put them back into like pre-exploring times? Yeah. Something's going on there for sure. Because why aren't these continents communicating together?
Yeah. There's something going on
in
there.
trade and all that.
Well, yeah. And, even one of the Vosters, I can't remember which one, but I just made a note here. He says that they escaped the wars thanks to the help of 3 of your Starling ancestors specifically. And she says they came here and left, and he said only one, the other 2, their Starling lives were claimed by the land. So who were those 3 that helped the Voster escape the situation? We don't know that yet.
And then why would they let them escape? Oh, there's so much. It's so convoluted. It is.
And then another piece of that, something about the journey to bring the Voster here, meaning to Kalandra, must have changed their migration patterns. So my ancestors had led them to a new breeding ground. Here the Crux were terrors. Here the Voster had powers. Here the Starling were monsters. But why? So it's like, what are the connections between the Starling helping the Vosters escape this war over on Ken and then coming to Kalandra specifically? So there's that. Yeah, it's then the perspective, the one last thing I'll say is the perspective of this from Ransom's point of view. He says, generations ago, before the Shield of Sparrows treaty was formed, there was a war within the Brotherhood. Few knew it happened, even fewer risked speaking of it, but my father felt it was important for me to know of the Kennen, given Tura's allegiance to the Voster. aren't all kingdoms allied with the Voster? Until today, I would have answered yes. He rubbed a palm across his beard. But then I saw a cannon walking through through your father's halls. The Brotherhood fractured during the war. Those who opposed the Voster's ideals, the Zealots, were killed, but some escaped death and in their exile formed the Kennen. What do the Kennen believe? That they themselves should rule the 5 kingdoms, that those with magic should be in power. So there's some crazy conspiracies going on right now, and we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I almost wonder.
It's hard.
I'm going to say this now, and it could just be me overthinking it, but I almost wonder if Queen Oleana knows. I feel like she might have
secretive.
something to do with it.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah. How do you not?
Yeah. I mean,
Something's going on.
Something's going on, for sure.
She doesn't want them to go do that. So I think she knows something. So there we go.
Well, I mean, because if all she knew was that if they go to Kalandra, there's a magic that turns them evil, then she would probably say something, right? She would be like, don't go there because then you'll turn rabid and they'll kill you. But it's like, so that's why I wonder almost if she knows something more about this and is part of this conspiracy somehow. Like maybe she's benefiting from it in some way. Yeah, I wonder.
Like feeding the magic or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh no. Oh no. Maybe. All right. That's crazy. What happened to Max? Because they mentioned that they were tortured, but they actually don't mention Max being with them. Did he die? Okay. Mm-hmm. That was the beloved of Emery. And they did not make any mention of Gracella.
Yeah, Graciella or something like that.
So they don't make a mention of her. Yeah. So did she already fly off to the land? Is she trying to? Because it's been 20 years. Mm-hmm. Where is she? Mm-hmm. So that's going to come back around. Yeah, and then sure. I think my conspiracy is that one of the Voster killed Andreas's mother. So because they said basically shortly after they got married, she randomly fell ill, which was weird, died, and then the dad shortly died after of heartbreak.
Also died.
So what did they know? That maybe they were gonna maybe they were gonna pass on the knowledge to him or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because he did make a mention that it was weird, like weird timing. They were perfectly fine and then they were sick and died, and it doesn't sound like that's a normal occurrence. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. Something's amiss there with that. Okay. And then my last one is, will Ransom actually become a Crux or a Swift? Is the Lyssa actually turning him into one of those? Perhaps he won't die because they don't actually know what's going to fully happen. There seems to be a transformation. His eyes turn.
Well, and he was bitten by, if our theories are correct, by not just a monster with Lyssa, but by a Starling.
Where's the red yarn? Yeah.
That's a good theory.
Okay.
That's a good theory.
So he also, in his POV, flash, whatever that was that we saw, he is bowing to a Crux and saying, my queen, which we obviously assume is Odessa, but why does he call her my queen? What if they're shifting together? What if they can shift? What if Odessa can still shift because she is half whatever that bloodline is, you know? So there's lots of things to be read next year. We'll see. I think that is very possible, though, that Ransom will actually shift. Whether he can shift back or not without the magic being broken, I don't know. But, because why would he die? Yeah. Really?
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's just thinking he would go, well, no, I think what he's thinking is he'll go so rabid that, like, he's not necessarily saying he'll just keel over, but that he made his friends and family promise to kill him.
Right. Which you came up with a good... maybe flaw or, you know,
I don't think it's a flaw. I don't think it's a flaw.
If she kills him, she will too die.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think that's
maybe,
a flaw.
what if that's what we're saying? Maybe he's like kneeling before her so she can kill him before he can kill her and then they just kill each other on accident, but not on purpose. It's on purpose. Because they have an oath that they can't break. So she can't be the one to kill him and she can't be the one to kill her.
there's too many blood contracts and magical contracts going on. It's like, how do we work around all these? Okay, I would literally just give up and be like, if I die, I die. Like, I don't know. I can't follow all these rules. It's too much for me to remember.
I know. What if you're in it? What if it was you? Like, oh, good luck. Oh,
I would just be like I would be just, what is the word I'm looking for? Like when a god just like knocks you down from the heavens.
Smited?
Yeah, I'd be smited immediately, and I wouldn't even know why. It would be like, oh, I broke an oath I didn't even remember I had because I have so many oaths that I can't even keep track. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, here's my other question.
Okay.
Did you go back and read the prologue after reading it at the beginning?
Did you?
I did, a good idea. And I am even more confused now.
Oh, great.
Okay, so what do we know? We know that the original, here, let me pull this up to see. I'm pretty sure that I wrote it down exactly so that I don't have to be confused about it. Okay. Sparrow Wolf of Tura is the first sparrow made to marry King Tanis Oak of Genesis to seal the treaty and to ensure Kalandra would rebuild after the devastating Crex migration. Okay, so we've got a wolf last name.
Which is Ransom. Ransom's last name is Wolf.
Right?
Yeah. So that's his ancestor.
Of some kind. And then we don't know anything about King Tanis Oak of Genesis because we haven't really even explored Genesis at this point. At least to our knowledge. Who knows? But I guess my question is, when was this instated? Who were these people? And are they connected to our current characters at all?
Well, they have to be in order to include it.
Well, yeah, think. I'm just asking the obvious question. Yeah. But it's like, but how? And obviously that prologue was not included for no reason.
Right.
So I wonder, and also, you know.
And what's in it for the Voster? What if that's the magic that ties, like, the protection together for that continent? Maybe it's what veils the continent or something. Because it's some kind of, like, interlocking treaty, essentially, that all works together. So I don't know. We're all speculating right now.
Yeah, but I feel like, maybe at the end, go back, reread the prologue, see if anything clicks. I feel like it just made me more confused because we don't have enough information. But, I mean, the fact that her name is Sparrow Wolf is really interesting to me because of the fact that it's like, we saw with Caspia, doesn't she give her name as Sparrow at one point in time or something like that? Like, just because I feel like...
She gives it Wolf. She gives her last name as Wolf.
So there's some kind of, like, connection that's going on, I feel like, that we're going to find out with the lineage. Because it's just really suspicious of the fact that literally the first sparrow is named Sparrow Wolf. Why?
Yeah. There's a lot of name games going on with this author, for sure.
Exactly. And now she's made us paranoid, so we're going to pick apart everything, even if it doesn't mean anything. Great.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, like, there would be no way that she wouldn't have included this prologue intentionally for a reason. So there's things that are hidden in here that I want to know about. Yeah. Okay. But I feel like, as far as unanswered questions, everything that you said already, obviously everything with the Voster, why do these continents not acknowledge each other? Who's still alive from Ken, etc. These are all my big ones.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. Wow. Well, my brain hurts. I don't know about you guys, but
same.
ow.
I feel like we talked about a lot of things, so that's good.
Well, this was a doozy. It was. Yeah.
Do you have any last words, any final words on Rites of the Starling before we close this until next, probably March?
Not yet. But I'm sure I'll come up with something later on. Well, let's do something a little lighthearted. An Unhinged Smasher Pass. What do you got for me?
Oh, this is what because it's Rites of the Starling, SOS related. I want to know your most smashable monster and your most passable monster.
Okay. Most smashable monster. The Crux. Sure. That's great. And then also, the most passable one would have to be the marrow eels for me. Because yuck. They're very worm-like.
Yeah, that was literally my exact same answer. But then honorable mention for the bats. For the Chiroptis. Because... I mean, honestly, like, it would be so cool to transform into a Crux or to, like, you know, ride a Crux. Like, they're like your little, you know, pseudo dragon. Yeah. But we've not had anybody riding giant bats.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when was the last time we saw someone riding a giant bat? Like the Neverending Story? Like, that was a long ass time ago. It's time again. So they're an honorable mention for me.
You have to smash one of the Vosters. Which one is it going to be?
Probably Hane, because he was the one who seems most like the stick it to the man rebellious dude. Yeah. Who's trying to help out. You know what I mean? Or so it seems at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's just Ash now, so good luck.
Chopped his head off right into the sea. Yeah. What about you?
Get those hands away from me. They're so gross.
Literally.
Nails.
I don't like a regular man foot.
Yeah. And they're
like a regular man foot. And you were going to try to put me around a Voster foot?
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm just going to say score because, like, I don't know. He has more magic, I guess. He can control it at least, so he can pull it in. I don't like it.
Okay, so this is another unanswered question, just to circle back around, because now my brain's just never going to stop going. If they have the capability, because we knew that they had the capability to manipulate wind and water.
And liquid, basically. Right?
Yeah,
blood.
So we didn't realize, though, until this book, that they could do that with blood. So what is stopping them from just literally killing all the monsters by sucking all their blood out?
Maybe they don't want to.
Maybe they don't want to.
So we know that the High Priestess was harvesting the Lissa blood. But Brother Score, whatever, one of them, took it out and just, like, did away with it, you know? Just like, whatever. Just, it's gone. So, well, the first thing... Because that was mentioned, that, like, he did it without anything in exchange, basically. Like, he just did it on his own generosity.
Well, it's like the first thing that I thought of was like, oh, if you're able to kill an entire pack of barrow wolves by sucking out all their blood and turning them into husks, essentially, why would you not do that with a Crux?
Yeah. Well, they say they don't care about them. It's feeding off something with the ecosystem. This is what they're doing.
It's shady. I'm just saying, if it's that easy, it's shady. This is shady.
One last question. I keep getting confused, so just tell me that I'm an idiot. The priesthood that we have, there are more than 6 of them. They're not the gods, right? Because those ones were transformed into their orbs. So these brothers are just other brothers from other mothers. So, and then they harvest their magic somehow.
But there's not very many. Okay, yes. So, but we have
the magic
there
orbs
too.
Feed the lands, therefore feed the priests. So the priests are feeding maybe off the Lissa and the blood. Maybe they're sucking their blood.
But to answer your question, we don't know how many Voster there are.
Okay.
Because the only Voster that exists that we know of were the ones who had to flee their homeland because it no longer exists because it was taken over by the other people.
And they have never reproduced on this land either.
Exactly.
And they're not fully immortal,
but they're very long-lived. Yeah. So that's the thing. Are there more Voster, like maybe in secret somewhere else out in the lands? Do they all come to Alisaria, or do they have some other places? Like, and no, we don't know how many there are on the continent, but they are very dwindled in population because they're basically genocided. Is what we found out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right. That's
Open-ended
crazy.
questions. Yeah, just in case you guys don't have a million questions, just know we have plenty for everyone all the time.
It helps to talk it out. It does. Because I kept getting like, wait, six orbs, 6 priests, blah, 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 so it helps talk through it.
Yeah.
So thank you. Well,
All
you guys, thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. Which animal did you pick to ride off into the sunset with us? Let us know down in the comments. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe anywhere you like to listen to favorite podcasts, including YouTube or Besties in the Books podcast, everywhere, including TikTok and Instagram, Besties in the Books podcast. And that Fable chat was lit over on Fable at Besties in the Book Club. So go join it. So that way you get notified for the next ones. And you go to Instagram too, where we'll announce book clubs and all that. But you guys, we'll see you
See you
next Tuesday. Bye.